joining us for another Tantrum House crowdfunding conniption. Today we are on the hunt for the coolest and weirdest Beetles from all over the world to add to our collection in Pins and Beetles from Light and Games.
As always, we want to make sure you're aware that our crowdfunded videos are sponsored in part by our own Kickstarter backers, as well as by the creators of this game. Hey gang, thanks for joining us at Tantrum House Studio 3. I'm Will Meadows.
And I'm Sara Meadows, and today we are going on expeditions around the world to photograph and build the best collections of unusual beetles.
Pins and Beetles is from designers Troy Caban and Kyo Choi, and Claudia Jakowalska did the artwork. This is for 2 to 4 players. It takes about 40 minutes to play, and in this video we're not going to be sharing any opinions on the game, but we do want to show you what it looks like out on the table so you can make an informed decision when it comes to being a backer. Let's jump in and see how it's played.
To set up the game, place out the exhibit cards and photograph feature cards.
Shuffle the Beetle deck, reveal 3 in the expedition area, and deal 1 to each player, and then you're ready to begin.
On their turn, players will select one of the 7 actions on the board by moving the meeple there.
Research allows you to draw 2 cards into your hand.
The expedition spaces allow you to take all of the beetles from that continent set. So here I can take these 2 beetles because they are found in either North or South America. Any cards gained that are face up will stay face up in front of you on the table.
The trade action allows you to draw 1 card from the deck and then trade with the other players.
The photo feature action allows you to photograph a set of beetles in your collection. Any cards in the set will be played in front of you on the table and you'll gain the card. If someone plays more cards than you of that same set, the card may be stolen later in the game.
When the exhibit action is played, players will discard a set of a matching beetle family to put on display at the local museum, and tokens are placed in the matching shape.
Play continues around the table until the exhibit hall is filled. Players will tally their scores, and the player with the most points wins.
Pins and Beetles reminds me of the middle school activity of collecting all the random bugs that are in the backyard and pinning them to your board, stinking up the garage, and then turning it into your teacher. In this game, you get to relive some of those experiences as you're collecting all kinds of different bug and beetle species. I guess all beetle species. There's a lot of beetles. There's a huge deck of cards in this game. Players will be taking turns moving that same meeple, even though they're competing against each other, around the board to take different actions in order to collect the most victory points at the end of this game.
Yeah. You are allowed to take the action that the meeple is standing on. However, you will need to discard 4 beetles from your collection. So it's kind of expensive. I would probably save it for the end.
Yeah, players are going to be spending their cards. Typically, I think the strategy is going to be to save up your cards to take those photos. That doesn't cost you any cards. You don't have to turn them in. You just have to achieve what's on the card. And then to fill out the exhibit spaces, you're going to have to actually turn the cards in, which is going to deplete your collection, which means you're no longer going to be having, 5 blue beetles or 5 of the large beetles.
Yep. The beetles are categorized by different family types, which in this game they're delineated by color, which makes it very easy. There are icons also if you are colorblind or have any deficiencies there, so you will be able to differentiate the different family types. In the photo feature cards, there are 1 for each type of family, so there's 5, you'll need 5 for a set minimum for those family cards. But if, let's say, you're able to take a photo of 6 of those family beetles, then you might be able to steal it from somebody else, and there are these special little bonus cards because you'll get extra points for playing the higher sets of those beetles. It is harder to get the extra sets, but you are allowed to steal it from somebody else.
You are not allowed to use the wild beetles for photography. However, there's a whole set of beetles in the game that are not distinguished as being a specific color. They are wild. You can use them as anything in the game. You will be allowed to use those when you're turning them in for the exhibit tokens, though. There's a whole other mini game kind of going on the exhibit floor because you can only place tiles in the locations that there are space for. Explain that to us.
Yeah, so when you place out a set, each different family type or color can have 1 that has the ×2 bonus. So if you gain that, and it would be great if you got it with the 5, because then that set is worth 10 points at the end of the game. Only one can be claimed for each family. And then after that, there's 2 other sizes. So there's a 3, a 4, and a 5 sized exhibit able to be placed. But other exhibits of that same family will need to touch that set that's already been laid. So it does make it difficult, and that is the end game trigger once you cannot place any more exhibits because the space doesn't allow for it.
Yep, so once you've filled up the entire floor with the available spaces and shapes that you're trying to get into there, the game does end. Players will then tally up the points that they've collected from the photographs as well as from the exhibits, and that will be your grand total for the game. Player with the most points wins.
Yeah, and those exhibit cards are double-sided. So they're, for every set of 5, there's 2 different shapes that can be selected when you set up the game.
That give you a little bit of variety and replayability. If this looks like something you'd be interested in, you can definitely check it out on Kickstarter to learn more. And then, as always, thank you guys so much for tuning in, following along here at Tantrum House. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments. We'll be happy to answer. And we'll see you guys in the next video.